A lot of such crime goes unreported, not necessarily or specifically at university, but we do know that um, violence against women in particular often goes unreported um, for a number of reasons. For example, there is an element of shame, especially if the attack is described as a sexual attack. Um, Also, out of fear for consequences. I imagine of course, it's a physical attack, so obviously there will be some physical effects, but much worse would be the psychological effects, because I imagine someone who has been the victim of an attack, especially when they have not seen justice served or punishment, they would feel broken in spirit. And we see that in people who are, victims of domestic violence, for instance, who are abused for years, or abused children. Something happens to the sense of self that then makes it even less likely for them to stand up for themselves and for their right and report a crime. I think there are two different ways this can go. I think a victim may become very quiet and secretive, especially if they're very young, like a young girl. But they may react in other ways, become quite aggressive, disruptive, and we as educators especially, we need to look out for these things, also as parents. If there is a change in our child's behavior, or a friend's behavior, or a student's behavior. One of the ways that we as parents can deal with that is not be physically aggressive to our children. Because as parents, we will often, perhaps slap a child or hit a child as punishment. You deserved it, you behaved badly, and so you deserve a slap, or you deserve to be locked in, or something like that. So the child grows up thinking, if something happens to me like this, it's because I've been bad. So one thing we need to do is stop our own ways of punishing children. And then also, I think we should remove the word sexual from it, because it's not sex. It's not, the victim must not at all feel that they've engaged in sexual activity, because that can be a big source of shame, especially in terms of a woman feeling that she's not virtuous. And many cultures have this, and even in our society now, we think we've gone beyond that. We actually haven't. Still, there is a very specific sense of virtue attached to a woman. And if something like this happens, the woman is no longer virtuous. And we need to help women go beyond that and see that this is just an interpretation. Well, given that the aggressors are usually male, the victims tend to be more female than male, but I think, again, in both cases, the trauma of the assault will probably make them react in the same ways, try to hide it or forget about it, hoping it won't happen again. That happens generally with violence. It is traumatic, and then you want to forget it happened. Maybe you think, if I change my behavior, it won't happen to me again. Maybe it was something I did. I looked at him too long, I smiled too much. So victims tend to try and change their own behavior so as not to invite this kind of response. If it is going unreported, we can't catch it. The point is for people to feel safe in speaking about it and not to feel judged, especially in sexual crime. So we need to go beyond the sexual stigma of a rape and see it purely as violence.